For your third activity and reading this week, you're looking at a scholarly article. So instead of doing scholarly presentations, you're just reading one article and you're responding to it. And this article is so good because one, it's about your tale. And in fact, it's sort of modeling the sort of final paper that you could do on fantasy literature. Because this article is literature and culture and history. It's a cultural reading. That is, it's situating or contextualizing Jamaican author Nello Hopkinson's short story in post-colonial Jamaica. Basically, it's saying, if you understood what was going on in post-colonial Jamaica, the audience and the setting for the glass bottle trick, you would have a deeper understanding of what this story means. And when you take it away from that context, you don't get the richness of it, which is just common sense, right? Understanding the context always gives another layer of meaning. And what is that context? Well, in the thesis, which we have right here, here's what Robinson says about Hopkinson's stories. Don't mix up Robinson, Hopkinson. These are the two different authors. Hopkinson wrote the story. Robinson wrote an article about Hopkinson's story. And here's her thesis. Infusing her tale with the spirits of Caribbean folklore and the creolized language of the region, Hopkinson suggests the post-colonial legacy of racial essentialism as the cause of the husband's pathology and self-hatred and murder. The Bluebeard Terrier, a dark fairy tale of temptation and power and murder, becomes a space reimagined and reassembled to elucidate the heavy burden of colonial notions of values based on essentialist and imperialist ideology as the continuing issue of a post-colonial social reality and literary discourse. You might have to read that a couple times to really catch what she is saying there. But what Robinson is pointing out is this story, which has traditionally been about a husband who is a serial killer of women, and Carter expands it out to look at abuse and traditions of abuse against women specifically, and particularly women in marriages, so intimate partner abuse. Here becomes a message about a much larger social abuse that is the colonial abuse of people. And the husband perhaps is not killing his wives because he hates women, but maybe, just maybe, he lives in a society that has taught him to hate himself. And so when his wives get pregnant with his babies, he so hates himself because his colonial society, or is post-colonial society, still has that colonial notion that he is not as worthy as someone else. And so he doesn't want to bring one of his own children into the world. And he's a serial murderer because he ultimately hates himself. That sort of twist on the message, looking at layers of oppression and abuse, gives this tale a whole new meaning. So, it's working groups to sort of parse out the different things that you're going to find in this article. I want you, here are the questions I want you to answer, and first you're going to post your answers. Then you're going to respond to two peers. And finally, you're going to make a post on how maybe your views have changed or evolved or perhaps just sort of deepened after having read your peers' responses. And the reason for this sort of back and forth is so that you're working in groups, but you're not having to do that whole group scholarly project presentation. But you're still getting some of that experience. And then for the last thing this week, I want you to tell me the title and the text for your book summary and your final project. And remember, I am always happy to talk. If you want to come together and talk about this, get me during office hours or send me an email. Office hours, especially if you're wondering what to do, is a great place. I can work out whatever you need to talk about. So, well, have a great week. Can't wait to see what you do.